Alright guys, I was going to wear these for the entire video, but then I realized they don't fit in the shot. Right, so, and I don't really have other decorations, so, but anyway, Merry Christmas. As a foreigner living in Jamaica, every year I get to experience something truly unusual that I still cannot fully wrap my head around. And it's Christmas. You see, when I relocated to Jamaica about 10 years ago, my understanding of the world was such that, if anything, the Caribbean is the opposite of what I would associate with Christmas. You know, snow, cold weather, Santa, Christmas carols, all of that. It was really a shock to learn that not only do Jamaicans celebrate Christmas, but it's huge. It's the biggest holiday of the year. It also turned out that there are so many unique things about Christmas in Jamaica that you can't experience anywhere else in the world. So in this video, I'd like to share what I've learned about the origins of Christmas in Jamaica, what Jamaicans do for Christmas today, what they used to do in the past, and why Christmas is actually such a big deal in Jamaica. Before we talk about what's so special about Christmas in Jamaica, I'd like to mention things that I find to be quite similar to Europe and North America. First is, of course, that today Christmas is all about family time, togetherness, reconnection, sharing love and gifts. It's this kind of magical time, especially for the younger ones. This creates a lot of warm memories, and it's usually what comes to mind when we think of Christmas. However, the key thing about Christmas is that it's closely connected to Christianity, and this is the same in Jamaica, or I would say even more so. One of the biggest surprises I had when I came to Jamaica was learning that most Jamaicans are not Rastafari, they're Christians. The tradition of going to church on Sundays, sometimes Saturdays, is still very strong in Jamaica. So sure, when it comes to Christmas, many Jamaicans go to church, attending midnight mass on Christmas Eve or early morning services on Christmas Day to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. However, this has not always been the case. In fact, for the first 200 years, most people who celebrated Christmas in Jamaica were not Christians. Christmas traditions were brought to Jamaica by the English in the 17th century when they colonized the island and later launched hundreds of sugar plantations. Enslaved people, mostly from West Africa, were forced to work relentlessly from sunrise to sunset under the most harsh conditions. The main reason Christmas became such a big holiday in Jamaica is that historically it was the only time when all plantation work would stop and the enslaved people could get a break for 3 days. What's more, slave owners who followed Christian traditions of giving would often provide enslaved people with annual gifts of cloth, meat, and sometimes alcohol. This was a big treat for people who would not normally have access to something like meat. That's how Christmas became a time of feasting, with people trying to dress up and plantations hosting all-night dances featuring plenty of drumming. This gave rise to the uniquely Jamaican Christmas tradition known as Jonkonnu. Today, Jonkonnu is an event involving music, dance, and costumed characters parading through the streets to entertain people during Christmas. A couple of years ago, I made a video with an authentic Jonkonnu band who are keeping this tradition alive. Interestingly, there are still misconceptions about Jonkonnu in Jamaica. Some people think it is an African tradition, but it's not. It actually developed in Jamaica as a form of mockery of European plantation owners, and adapted versions of Jonkonnu later spread into other Caribbean islands. If you're interested in more details, please check out my video here. Another Jamaican tradition that originated during the era of plantation work is what we now call Grand Market. Enslaved people typically had Sundays off, which they had to use to grow their own food. And when they produced a surplus, they were permitted to sell it to others. By the early 18th century, slave-run food markets were held every Sunday across Jamaica. Christmas markets were especially significant, and this eventually gave rise to the tradition of Grand Market. Today, Grand Market is an event held on Christmas Eve that continues into the early hours of Christmas Day. The biggest Grand Market is in Kingston, but it is also held in other towns in Jamaica. There are a lot of street vendors and a variety of goods with opportunities for last-minute shopping. There is also a lot of music and food. It's quite different from the concept of Christmas fair that we have in Europe. Technically, it's also Christmas market, but in Jamaica, the vibes are completely different. There is, however, one tradition that Jamaica shares with many other countries, and it is the concept of Christmas dinner. I'm from Ukraine, and we have the same idea, cooking a massive amount of food that could feed an entire family for like a week. I've noticed that Jamaicans do the same, but the type of food is completely different. A must-have for Jamaican Christmas dinner is the Jamaican Christmas cake, also known as black cake or fruit cake. The standout feature of this cake is its texture. Thanks to dried fruits soaked in Jamaican rum for months in advance, the cake has this rich, unique flavor. Other Caribbean countries have similar cakes, but the Jamaican version is the booziest and the most moist and dense of all the variations. The origins of Caribbean fruit cakes trace back to British plum pudding, also called Christmas pudding. The word plum originally referred to dried fruits like raisins or currants. It was actually plum porridge first that was eaten on Christmas Eve as a way to prepare the body for all the Christmas feast. And by the 18th century, plum porridge became associated with Christmas and later took the form of a pudding. Originally, it was shaped into a sphere and boiled in a cloth, but during the Victorian era, it transformed into the British Christmas pudding we know today. When the British plum pudding was introduced in the Caribbean, it was the time after emancipation. The pudding continued evolving in Jamaica with many culinary twists, eventually becoming a completely different dish known today as the Jamaican Christmas cake. It is often served with sorrel, which is another traditional Jamaican Christmas treat. Jamaican sorrel is a hibiscus-based drink with ginger and a lot of different spices such as cloves, and sometimes infused with rum. Unlike the black cake, which has European roots, the origins of the sorrel drink are from West Africa. Hibiscus is a native plant in West Africa, and the drink made from this plant is very popular in many cultures across the region. There is a national drink of Senegal known as bissap, which is a sorrel drink but with their own unique set of spices. Another example is zobo, a drink from Nigeria, which is similar to Jamaican sorrel but includes citrus. So most likely it was either the Yoruba or Hausa people from the area that is now modern-day Nigeria who brought this drink concept to Jamaica, or the Wolof people who lived in the area around modern-day Senegal. In Jamaica, hibiscus plants are particularly abundant in late autumn and are often harvested just before Christmas. So the drink became associated with Christmas, and over the centuries, the original West African drink evolved into something unique with its own special flavor. I have a video on my channel where a Jamaican lady teaches me how to make Jamaican sorrel drink. It's a fun video with some Christmas vibes, so check it out if you are interested. But there is one more traditional Christmas drink in Jamaica today, and it is eggnog. It is a variation of eggnog, the famous rich creamy drink that is popular in North America and other countries. The Jamaican eggnog, of course, has its own twist with a particular brand of Jamaican rum. The exact origins of eggnog remain a topic of debate among culinary historians, but it is widely believed to have evolved from an early medieval British drink called posset. This beverage was warm, creamy, and included ale. During the time, milk, eggs, and alcohol were considered luxury items, making eggnog a symbol of wealth and prosperity. It became associated with the holiday season as it spread across the British colonies in the 1700s, with each culture putting its own unique spin on the recipe, including Jamaica. Gungo peas and rice is a Christmas-specific version of Jamaica's iconic rice and peas. Gungo peas are considered festive and are often used during holiday season, giving the dish the distinct flavor. Gungo peas were originally introduced to the Caribbean in the late 17th century from Africa, where they were planted and grown in abundance. In English, they are commonly referred to as pigeon peas. This name comes from Barbados, where the English used them to feed pigeons. However, in Africa, these are known as Congo peas, and that's the term that was adapted in Jamaica. Congo became Gungo. What's also interesting is that Gungo peas are green when they're young, but they turn red and brownish in color when they ripen. So some records mention that they are the original red peas used in Jamaica's rice and peas. But at some point, kidney beans, a native plant to South America, became popular in Jamaica because they were more affordable, and Jamaicans replaced red gungo peas with red kidney beans, but the name of the dish stuck as rice and peas, and that's why today Jamaicans refer to kidney beans as red peas. So most likely it was the gungo peas and rice that was the original recipe for rice and peas, not the one that is more common today. Anyway, that's what I was able to find so far, but I'll go to the archive next year and I'll check the original records. In the meantime, if you are in Jamaica, make sure to enjoy your Christmas gungo peas and rice. Jamaicans also have a tradition of cooking roasted meats for Christmas, for instance, roast chicken. But the star of Jamaican Christmas dinner is the Jamaican Christmas ham. It's cured ham, which is cooked with a lot of cloves and added pineapples and cherries. It is glazed in sugar and baked in the oven. Jamaican ham is delicious and has a very distinct taste. Now, glazing meats is something that became widespread in Europe because of the introduction of sugar from the Caribbean. Before, it was only the most wealthy in Europe who could afford it, and it was only honey and fruit syrups that were used because they had no sugar. However, what I find most fascinating about ham for Christmas is the fact that Christianity comes from the Middle East, where people did not eat pork. Judaism prohibits pork, the same as Islam, and prohibition can also be found in the Old Testament in the Bible, both in Leviticus and Deuteronomy. That's why, for instance, Ethiopian Orthodox Christians do not eat pork. So how could pork be the centerpiece of Christmas dinner across European cultures? Well, it's not anymore, at least not in Britain, where stuffed turkey became the key, but it used to be. Cooking pork and ham, specifically in December, is an ancient European tradition to celebrate the winter solstice, which dates back hundreds of years before Christianity came to Europe. There are historical records of Saturnalia, which was the biggest festival in the Roman Empire, honoring Saturn, the god of agriculture. The main dish of the festival was roast pork and Roman ham and crust, which represented prosperity and food abundance. In Northern Europe, there was another important ancient festival known as Yule, the celebration of the return of the sun after the longest night of the year. It was also marked by feasting, and the main dish of the Yule feast was pork, in the form of roast boar with boar's head on the table and cured ham. This is because the boar was associated with the Norse god Freyr, who was linked to fertility, prosperity, and abundance. However, pork was the meal of the wealthy, so not everyone could afford it. Instead, the choice for the working class was a goose. When Christianity came to England, a lot of things changed, and the main Christmas dish became stuffed goose, among the others, all the way until Victorian England, when there was a huge revival of the Yule festival. This included traditions like the burning of the Yule log, which symbolized the victory of light over darkness. Evergreen trees were used to represent resilience and renewal during the darkest and coldest time of the year. And of course, feasting included eating pork for Christmas, namely cured ham. By that time, European Christians believed that the New Testament made it clear in these passages that the dietary laws from the Old Testament were no longer relevant and eating pork was acceptable. So the 19th century England played an important role in blending so-called pagan customs with Christian practices and spreading these traditions across all parts of the British Empire. This is how Jamaicans adopted many of the traditions of the Yule festival. In fact, during Christmas in Jamaica, people used the concept of Christmas spirit interchangeably with Yule spirit. Jamaican newspapers from as late as the 1970s mention stories about the Yule spirit. It's also interesting that the British moved on to eating stuffed turkey as the main dish for Christmas from the early 20th century. And turkey is an imported food from the Americas, while some Caribbean cultures, I believe including Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados, but definitely Jamaica, preserved the tradition of having ham as the main meat dish for Christmas. So if you're ever in Jamaica for Christmas, you just must try the Jamaican Christmas ham. The pineapple glazed delicious meat. So the Christmas menu in Jamaica today must include Jamaican Christmas cake, sorrel drink, some might also include eggnog, and Jamaican Christmas ham, accompanied by Gungo peas and rice. But food is not the only thing that makes Jamaican Christmas so special. Another tradition specific to Jamaica that originated in the 19th century is the Christmas cleaning. It's a universal thing to clean your home just before Christmas, to give it a fresh start. But in Jamaica, this is taken kind of further. People don't just clean their homes. It's more like the fix the entire house mission. People can even give a fresh coat of paint to their house or their fence. And it also feels like a fresh start because of the weather. Somewhere around November, we start getting this cool breeze in Jamaica. I was filming sunrise at Hope Gardens in Kingston only recently, and the air was so fresh and cool. Not cold, but fresh. It sort of enhances this very strong, fresh start experience in Jamaica during Christmas. You know, the feeling of renewal. So if you live abroad and you have some problems, you would like to get away from it all and restart your life, I find Jamaica to be the best place for this, especially during the winter season. Christmas is also the time when Jamaicans tend to do a lot of giving, charitable acts, donating food and gifts to the less fortunate, or organizing community events. That's why a very common sight during Christmas in Jamaica is the representatives of the Salvation Army of Jamaica. You will see them by many shops collecting donations for the poor. And it's not only Jamaicans in Jamaica who do the giving. The Jamaican diaspora also sends a lot of food and clothes and gifts back to their family in Jamaica, to such an extent that it's also known as the barrel time, because they usually pack everything into these big blue barrels. They also send money, and for years the only way to get money from abroad was through Western Union. Just before Christmas, the lines would be like several hours long. And even though there are a lot of more convenient options now available in Jamaica, people do still use Western Union to get money from foreign. One of the popular Jamaican Christmas events back in the day was the arrival of Santa. If you look at the older newspapers, Santa's arrival was this big thing in the center of the cities. But it was also a part of smaller events organized by private companies, like Christmas parties featuring Santa's arrival. Then it seems like this tradition faded away sometime around the political turmoil of the 1970s, which had an effect on Kingston downtown at the time. So maybe that was the reason Santa stopped going there. However, Jamaican newspapers had a few recent mentions of the event. For instance, in 2016, there was an article about Santa's arrival into Montego Bay by boat. I've personally never seen Santa's arrival in Jamaica, but it looks like some people are trying to revive this tradition, or maybe it is still going, but it just doesn't get as much attention. If you're Jamaican, please share with us what you know about Santa's arrival. I'd like to finish this video with something very positive, and that's of course Christmas music. This is something you would hear in Jamaica in December all the time. Christmas music in Jamaica includes all the famous international songs like White Christmas and Jingle Bells and all the Christmas carols. But to me, as a Ukrainian in Jamaica, one of the most surreal experiences is to walk into a Jamaican shop in Kingston during Christmas and hear the traditional Ukrainian folk song, which is, of course, Щедрик. Well, in the English-speaking world, it is known as Carol of the Bells. And most people have no idea that this is actually a Ukrainian folk song. But you know now, and I feel really special each time I hear the song in Jamaica. Then again, Jamaica and music. These two go hand in hand, so of course Jamaicans are not going to be satisfied with just foreign Christmas songs. This is Jamaica, so of course there is an entire collection of Jamaican Christmas reggae.
Santa get up in a mango tree, mango tree, mango tree. Santa Claus, do you ever come to the ghetto? Santa Claus.
Anyway, Christmas in Jamaica for me was probably one of the most pleasant yet unexpected discoveries. I would have never thought of associating Christmas with the Caribbean or with a country like Jamaica. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of tourists who come to Jamaica during Christmas often see just the commercialized side of it, with all the international decorations. And just like me, when I first came to Jamaica, they don't realize that Christmas is one of the most important aspects of Jamaican culture. I encourage everyone to experience Jamaica during Christmas season, try all Jamaican Christmas foods, visit Grand Market, find out where Jonkonnu band will be playing and check them out, and listen to Christmas reggae. I hope this helps others to learn more what Jamaicans do for Christmas and why. And if you're a Jamaican, please share in the comments below your Christmas experience in Jamaica and what you love the most about it. And then please check this video next. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one very soon. Merry Christmas!